We're all familiar with the three whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most. Many young parents leave pages of instructions for the sitter when they have their first date night after the baby is born. But only 36% of parents with minor children in the U.S. have any sort of plan to protect their children if they don't come back. Don't be part of that 64% without planning. At the Wilson Law Group, located in Madison, estate planning is all we do.
Fostering deeper relationships, influencing behavior change, developing resilience. You're about to start winning. Here is your host, Christine Bright.
Welcome to Parenting Game. I am so glad you are here. My guest is Bill Connor. He is going to be sharing his story on how he honors his daughter's life with Abby's Ride for Life. Bill, thank you so much for being here and being vulnerable enough to share this story. Before we get into the story, you're a biker, avid biker. So what kind of bike do you like to ride?
It's a road bike. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm glad I'm here. This is easy to talk about the bike ride, to get it out and let others know that you put a little effort forward in things and you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a biker. I ride about 100 miles a week. I got buddies that do over 200. They're freaks. And,
yeah.
But it's my therapy.
So how many years have you been riding?
This will be my 8th year.
Okay, so a little bit
Yeah.
newer into it.
Yeah.
So what kind of a bike do you like to, you said a road bike, but...
I ride a Trek Damani.
Okay,
And when I bought it, let's see, 7 years ago, I used to work for Trek, and I got it at an employee price, and it was $5,000 back then.
Yeah.
And the bike, the Damani today, $10,000.
Oh my word.
And it's just a bicycle.
I know, that's like, it's on my bucket list. That would be like to be my next bike, but now that I'm more aware of that, it's going to be a little bit of a little while before that happens. So where do you usually like to ride? Do you do a lot of in Madison, or do you usually head out of town for those longer rides?
I do a couple of things. I mean, it doesn't matter where I go. It's about mileage. And so every year I take a bus into Milwaukee and down to the lakefront, and then I ride back home.
Oh,
And so it's around 90 miles.
Yeah.
But it's a great ride because I used to live in that area. So when I'm coming back through, it's kind of the memories and things of that. I go down to Belleville, I go up to Sauk City. There's really, you just get going and you kind of find your way.
Yeah, I know there's some good trails in Sauk City, and then, La Crosse is another pretty area, which is my plan to do this summer, is to go right around the La Crosse area. That's really pretty along the Mississippi there.
You'll love that.
So one of the things that we are going to be talking about today, and what this all centers around your story, is organ donation. And this is a conversation that you had with your children. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how old were they, and when was the decision made that they would be organ donors?
Well, we just talked about things. It's kind of funny because when I'd go out for walks with them, and we'd take garbage bags, and I would always go for a walk with them and always try to teach them that, we can make it a better place every time we go out the door. So in the beginning, they didn't really like picking up garbage. But after a while, they kind of got it. And so then it started to be, how many bags can we fill?
Oh.
And so with that, I always talk to my kids about being kind to people, and I just told them about organ donation and said that, when you get older, in a case of a tragedy, the things you could do for somebody, and I explained to them the ins and outs of it, the organs and eyes and skin, and then they ended up doing it on their own. When they got their driver's license, they both signed up to be organ donors, and so I was pretty proud of them. And in the end, I never thought that we'd be using it this quick, but unfortunately we did. But so yeah, they did it on their own, and I was pretty proud of them.
That is great. And like you said, when you have that discussion and your child makes the decision like that, that's very honorable. You're not thinking that you're actually going to have to walk through that story. But for you, in January of 2017, you had a tragedy hit your family. So please share what had happened.
Yeah, I was with the kids in Christmas, and we were at my sister's son's house, and they were going to Mexico the next morning, or the next couple of days. And what I always tell my son is take care of your sister wherever they go. And so, they went with their mother and their stepdad and went to Cancun, a 5-star resort. And they were there not even less a week, and my phone rang, and it was my son. And he told me what happened, and Abby was on life support, and so they found my kids in a pool. My son fully recovered. Obviously, we know what happened with Abby, but it's in the wrong place, the wrong time, and less than 2 hours, and things happen.
So they were, not in the U.S.
Correct.
So there were some hard, expensive, decisions that had to be, made. So she was brought to the U.S. So tell us a little bit about what had to take place there, getting her back to the States.
Yeah. We were going to try and fly her back into Milwaukee, but the doctor thought that her brain was swelling and it wouldn't take it. So we had to find something closer. And so at the end of the day, we ended up flying her into Fort Lauderdale to one of the hospitals down there. And so, she was there, I believe, 4 days, 5 days. They tried to work with her to see if they could, turn things back on somehow. They put her into a coma, and nothing worked. And so Abby's mom and we made the decision then, we weren't going to have her live like that. And so then they pulled the plug, and then from there, what we're going to talk about is everything from that moment just blossomed. It's funny because I keep thinking about all of it, and one of the things that I'm kind of always wondering, when Abby went into surgery for the organ donation, I left. And nobody was there for her. And it's 5 years already, and it bothers me still today that at the point, it doesn't matter, how she comes out of there. It's just the point that she's in there. And I ended up flying home. But but ever since that point that she gave up her eyes, her skin, her bones. She gave up 4 organs. You can donate 8, but they couldn't take her lungs because there was water in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but from that point on, everything just snowballed in terms of everything worked out the way it should have.
Well, you had, it was a pretty quick decision for you that you just knew you had to do something, and that was Abby's Ride for Life. How soon after her passing did that take place?
Well, it was kind of funny because this is the weird thing. I mean, I know we don't have enough time, but I went to a family party, and I run into a classmate that I haven't seen for quite some time. His last name's Connor as well, but it's O-R.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're catching up, and I haven't seen him, and so what have you been up to? And he goes, I got into biking. And I said, really? Like, what'd you do? And he goes, I rode from the West Coast to New York. And I'm looking at him like, you did what? And his name's Mike Connor, and I'm like, you did what? And he's never done something like that before.
Uh-huh.
So when I was down with Abby, I knew at that moment I was going to ride my bike. And so I was thinking of riding it to the West Coast first. And then talking to Mike, Mike's, he's an engineer. And so detailed. I'm not. I just get on the bike and ride.
Yeah,
so,
let's go.
But he, just talking with him, I knew this is the guy that's going to help me with my bike ride in terms of, some details and
Mm-hmm.
what I need to carry, things of that sort. So, but here's the weird thing. I go to fly down to Florida to go Abby. I check into the airport, and guess who's standing in front of me in line?
Mike.
And he didn't know my daughter died.
Oh, my word.
And so I'm standing there.
You just knew.
They just brought him to me.
Yeah.
And so he helped me a lot, and so did Karen Ducharme, a friend of mine. She helped me map out everything. I mean, it took us a good 2 months. Mm-hmm. We got maps from a company out west that that's what they do. People send them information and they put it on maps, and so they can help you, with your journey. And but Karen, for months, we hours a day, and then we had so much to do, and then we finally got it together. Mike helped me, and then it was the day to go, and
your destination was?
Fort Lauderdale. I almost, I wanted to do the ride out west, and then my phone rang, and it was LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement people, and they asked me if I'd be willing to ride to Florida to the hospital. Of course, I'm like, sure, yeah, I'd do that. Mm-hmm. So then with that, our partnership started. If I needed anything, they were there for me. I didn't need anything. Every time I needed something, it just showed up. I mean, like, I knew Abby was with me. Mm-hmm. I only had 2 flat tires, and that's not bad for 2,500 miles. And I almost didn't stop in Louisiana for Father's Day. I don't know why. In the beginning, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then like 2 days before, and then the light bulb came on, because I thought to myself, you know what, Abby's going to be there, the kids, his family's going to be there, and so there's going to be 2 people that are going to be able to celebrate Father's Day. And so I ended up going, as you know. And then when I got there, I didn't see him. All I thought about was Abby. And so, I mean, I'm obviously happy for his parents and his grandparents and his, you know, but all I felt and saw was my daughter. And it was a great day. And that Father's Day get-together collectively has been seen over 300 million times.
Now, this was the gentleman who received which organ from your daughter?
The heart.
The heart.
Yep, he had 10 days to go. And good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave him 10 days, and then Abby showed up. So, and of course, I'm learning back then with the organ donation. I'm like, wait a minute, female, male?
Yeah.
And then I'm going, wait a minute, African American. And then I'm like, huh? I was stupid back then. So, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
A heart's a heart.
yeah, we went out to dinner. His parents and his grandparents took me out to dinner, and I looked at him over the table and I said, I just want you to know, if you die, I'm going to kill you, because that's my daughter's heart. And I said, you better take care of her, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So at first everybody started laughing, and then they're like thinking about it, and then they started laughing again. But yeah, he's been doing well. He's healthy. No problems. So
Wonderful.
everything's good.
So then from there?
Yeah, from there, the world heard and saw our story. It was, I can't tell you how many people around the world that reached out to me, kids, parents, I mean, Japan, Switzerland, Australia. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I still get messages today, because there's people that haven't seen the video, and then they watch it, and the reply is always, when I saw that, all I did was cry. And so, but at the same time, what we've generated with our bike ride in terms of organ donor registrations, and this is, this is 5 years ago. We generated over 80,000 new organ donor registrations.
And you gave me a really good visual when you shared that stat with me. And just when it sunk in with you, so share that story of when that idea of 80,000 really hit home for you.
Yeah, I haven't been to a football game in a long time, and Camp Randall holds 83,000. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden, I'm like, we filled Camp Randall.
Yeah.
So.
And that was during the ride. That's how many signups you had while you were doing that ride. And how many days was that? How long was that ride?
If I remember correctly, it was 50 some days. 52, I think, 52, 55.
So in 52 days, that many. And of course, that number is multiplied since then, since your story has gotten out. And I do want to go back and clarify a little bit about that video that you talked about, because I've seen it and it's really powerful. So that video is when you are coming in to the hospital where your daughter was, and they took her organs. And at that hospital, so this is the end of your ride, is where you're meeting the gentleman that got your daughter's heart. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I met him in Louisiana.
In Louisiana, and then you went on
That
to the
was,
end.
yeah, that was the halfway point.
Okay.
Yep, that was on Father's Day. And then he was there when I got into Florida as
Okay.
well. And so, yeah, it.
Okay, so you was in both places, but you initially met him at that halfway point.
Yeah.
And then met him down at the hospital.
Yeah, that's when David Muir got involved. It was a Friday afternoon. They did an interview on the phone with me. They got the video of me pulling into town to meet the heart recipient, and yeah, they put that on national TV, and they made Abby Person of the Week, and then it just went viral. I mean, it just took off.
Yeah, it's very easy. If you put in Abby's Ride for Life, it comes up, right away.
Yeah.
And has this initiated a lot,
Yeah.
of awareness.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things out of it is, there's two things. It's just not Mexico. You got to be careful wherever you travel, and trust me, I've had a lot of fun in my life, my time, but you got to be careful when you go places, and somebody's got to stay above board. There was a story about a fireman that him and his wife were down there, and this was like a couple of months ago. And same thing, he never made it back up to the room, and it's just, it's you just got to be careful.
Well, so we do have some more time here, and I would like to discuss that a little bit. So you've done this really great. You've been able to honor your daughter with bringing awareness to organ donation, but there's another battle going on behind the scenes, and this is all about fighting the poor alcohol that's in Mexico. And so you've been trying to, you've been working and fighting that fight to help protect other families. So share with us, briefly what's been happening on that front.
Well, it's just an education. Everybody, when you go on vacation, you don't think about it, really. You don't really think about the things around you. Cancun, a 5-star resort,
you wouldn't think they were going to have
in
the
middle of the day, and they were there in less than 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a front that, we're not going to be able to fight it. Nobody's going to be able to fight it because it's not, and again, it's just not Mexico. It happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you should, do some statistics, because there were people that actually sent me messages as of if you were dumb enough to let your kids drink in Mexico, they deserve to die.
Yeah, people can be.
Well, I laughed. Can you imagine the life that person has?
Yeah.
To say something like that. So it's just a part of, things happen, but at the same time, somebody's got to take responsibility.
Yeah.
And so
there's been, some changes and some, awareness brought to being careful what you put in your body, what you're drinking.
Right.
So you've brought attention to, two really important, topics.
Yeah, we, our story has resonated around the world. Just our story put Mexico's vacations, the vacationers, on their rear end. And the Secretary of Tourism came up into Washington, D.C., met with the State Department, begging them to drop the warning for Mexico. And that means they're in trouble. And that's just from our bike ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
You did a lot. That bike ride did some amazing, amazing good.
it touched a lot of people, but it also brought a lot of things to the forefront that people, you know, you gotta be careful. And so, but the better part of all of this is the amount of people that, you know, you've got 8 organs you can donate, and let's say okay, we'll donate one. I mean, she saved over 80,000 people. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you multiply that, even if they would give 2, you're looking at 160,000,
Yeah.
chances at life.
yep.
It's amazing. So we had this discussion too, because it's like, where do you go? Is it just at the DMV, or, where do you go if you make this decision that you want to be an organ donor? Where's the best place to go to register?
You can go 2 places. I mean, you got to renew your license at some point, and so you can get it done at the DMV. But I would recommend that you go online to registerme.org, and it's easy. It's online. It's done. And then the biggest thing that you have to do after you do this, you have to tell people about it. Many stories about families that, oh my God, they would never do that. I mean, because people.
But they had done.
Yeah, I know.
But
So
they
people
did.
register, right? They do it on their own. They don't tell anybody. But then all of a sudden, like we had to do, they come in and they knew she was a donor, and they asked us about it. And yeah, we know. Yep, take it. Take,
and
and
here
so,
they go.
but there are stories that I've heard that families just get into it to the point of like they'd never donate their. So
let people know. So it's registerme.org.
Yep.
And be sure to tell your family that
Yep.
you've made that choice.
Absolutely.
Bill, I really thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. And I'm excited to see what comes out of this, that people will become more aware and will go and do that. And I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Parenting Game. We're all familiar with the 3 whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaut, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaut, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most. Many young parents leave pages of instructions for the sitter when they have their first date night after the baby is born. But only 36% of parents with minor children in the U.S. have any sort of plan to protect their children if they don't come back. Don't be part of that 64% without planning. At the Wilson Law Group, located in Madison, estate planning is all we do.
Thank you for watching The Parenting Game. All episodes of The Parenting Game are available on demand at sunprairiemediacenter.com.